The next one, get broader coverage of racing on TV. Well, who came up with that genius idea?
Thanks very much. Right genius, I am, yeah. No, definitely, I think, and I'm sure many people will agree that, racing does not get enough exposure on a wider scale. Like TVG and HRTV have their own goals, but I mean, we need to recruit more fans. We need to be on the networks, on the cables, television. It's the way forward, and there's a lot of things that need to be done. Number one, we need to improve the product that we're putting on. Like days like the Preakness, the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont, they were exceptional this year, and the TV was great, and NBC did a fantastic job. But they're 3 days throughout the year. It's not enough. I think there is an opportunity after this year. A big plus was that NBC covered all three. They could market all three in one go. They could market it over their various different channels. Like the Preakness was advertised in Access Hollywood this year. Like, that's red carpet stuff. It's the far cry from horse racing. It's a way of getting horse racing to recruit more people to get involved. And, I think that it needs to be kind of coordinated in a fashion that, people can see it at the right time. So, you want to have the big races on at about 7 o'clock in the evening when people are coming back from work, get them flicking through the channels like HRTV and TVG. TVG is channel 405. You're not going to be just checking through the channels for something and stumble across TVG. But if you're going through ESPN or Versus, NBC, you're going to stumble across it and see, a Group 1 from Santa Anita or from Keeneland even. This is how your people are going to get interested. It's not like a genius idea, but it's certainly a step forward.
From the point of view of media, I think that we can also use the mainstream airtime that we get more effectively. I think that when our sport is portrayed on NBC, like the Kentucky Derby, Belmont Stakes, and Preakness Day, I think that we can take some of that airtime to educate people on the positive things about the industry, the way racehorses are treated. We might take them around a tour of one of the barns. They can see all the therapies that are done with horses. I think that, a lot of that airtime is taken up by all the feel-good stories and everything, which is also a very important aspect of showing people what racing is all about. But I think we can also devote some of that time to just educating on just showing how so many of the people who work in the industry care so much about these animals and just try and abolish some of the negative publicity that we're seeing.
From a wagering perspective, I agree that increased television coverage would be great. I think that people bet on what they can see and what they can watch on television. And so like Barry said, if people happen to come across racing on ESPN versus the more common channels that people surf through, that I think that could help to increase handle because, like I said, people will wager on what they can see, and I think it's been proven that television coverage significantly increases ADW handle because people can sit at home on their couch and watch the race on TV and bet on it. Again, it's a matter of paying for it because purchasing television rights, it's expensive. But I think if you make an investment in purchasing television coverage for the long haul, that I think over time, hopefully the increase in handle due to those races being on television will hopefully help it to pay for itself.
Yeah, from a Breeders' Cup perspective, that's one of the most difficult tasks facing the Breeders' Cup is trying to afford to actually pay for national television rights, which can be for a couple hours, where it can be in the tens of millions of dollars. So as Brian said, the hard part with that really is how in the world do we fund it, and that the solution with that might be tied into the legislature that we changed in legislature that we talked about earlier, or another possible option might be to buy regional space on TV. I presume this is possible, but like say for instance, you almost want the racetracks or ADWs in the area to be able to say buy regional television time in the area of the big grade 1 or whatever big race happening that day, and at least that might be affordable. And the second way to maybe be able to afford this is basically on television these days, well, the general public is becoming more easily distracted, and sort of smaller concentration spans, and in that way, racing is kind of lucky in that we have a product that is really, really short and really, really intense and exciting. And so even if we were to say, buy 2 minutes worth of time on national TV, like a bit like when they show like the lottery balls being basically coming out for a minute, where you basically have like a minute's worth or 2 minutes worth before the race. They show a little preamble before the race. It's all very exciting and getting people's attention. They show the race, give a little summary afterwards, and at least that is something that we could perhaps afford and yet still get our racing onto national television.
From the international perspective, I think it needs to be a situation where success will bring success. National network TV execs, they want a product that people are going to watch. And on a Saturday afternoon, I don't think I'd at the moment be pulling a repeat of Law and Order to show a 4-horse Grade 1 fillies race from Hollywood Park. So I think until the overall product improves, it becomes a lot harder to make it something that TV executives are going to go out and pay for and want to show in essentially prime time.
What if it was a really good Law and Order episode?
Yeah, I definitely.
One of the early days,
Yeah.
when Jerry Orbach at his best.
Jerry Orbach is one of the best, definitely.
Just saying. Anybody have any questions?
Jerry Duffy.
With Joe's permission, I'd just like to say that I think the dynamics of TV are going to change drastically in the next couple of years. With Google have introduced Google TV, and television as we know it is changing and is going to become almost like a giant web service and YouTube. So I don't think we need to worry as much about the cost of buying TV rights. What we should be working on is creating websites and web-based TV, because before very long you'll be just searching as you would in a web browser for programs you'll want to watch, and that's the way TV will be viewed going forward. So that's what's going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Orwell.
But yeah, I guess that does highlight the fact that we need to work on packaging our product and making sure that when we do go onto TV, that we're putting forth a very marketable product and an exciting experience. Yeah.
Okay. We got a follow-up after this. That'll be the next solution they have, which I think will dovetail with what we're just talking about. Anybody against not getting broader coverage on TV? That would be no. Unanimous. All right. Oh, that was such a softball. No, I don't want to see that race on network TV. I don't want to see the Breeders' Cup taken to a cable from a network. Well, that happened. I'm sorry. But next one. Oh, it did. More people saw it on NBC than ESPN, folks. I'll break it to you now, because if the Breeders' Cup hasn't, it got better thanks to Zenyatta. Okay. Require trainers and jockeys to participate in media training to make them more accessible.
That was me.
Sorry. Yeah, when you don't count, because you got to work with Graham Motion, who was the class act, I thought, of the Triple Crown. That close Preakness loss, and then the stumble where he was totally out of it. What a class guy. Unfortunately, I had to interview him twice, and he made me feel great. So, okay, so let's get the jockeys and trainers able to speak. Is that what we're saying?
I mean, I was just going to say, yeah, media training would probably be exceptional. It's, very important for trainers and jockeys to be able to handle the media and to be able to communicate with the public, because obviously in horse racing the public has a very much vested interest in the outcomes of races because they put their dollar on it. But also, I mean, going back to some of the things we said about celebrities and promoting the sport, we need to almost make our jockeys and our trainers the celebs, the heroes, the focus sometimes for fans to latch onto, because they're the ones that are going to be around the longest. I mean, the horses race for a few years sometimes, at most, like 5-6 years, but, the trainers, the jockeys, and even the owners are going to be around for a long time, and they need to be able to be accessible to the fans to be able to promote the sport and for them to be able to be followed.
Yep, just from the TV aspect, as Jerry said earlier about, there's racing has huge competition on TV against NFL, NBA, all the big other sports. it's one thing that I just believe that over here is that interviews with jockeys and trainers can often be a bit short sometimes, or they're not as open, especially, you know, there are some problems with language barriers for jockeys, and it doesn't provide for very good TV, as much as, you know, it's fair enough if they haven't spoken a lot of English, but the media training would definitely help them become, you know, more forthcoming. You know, you need to improve the characters that are there. Todd Pletcher, you know what I mean? I much prefer to watch Shaquille O'Neal speak in an interview than some of the racing heads of this game. You know, it's just, I think there needs to be more kind of encouragement to perform in front of the camera rather than.
And by the way, Hall of Famer Chris McCarron here, I think everybody knows him. He was one of the best. And Jerry Bailey and Gary Stevens, you know, there's not many guys like that around. Wayne Lucas, Bob Baffert, Nick Zito, they all got it. So let me ask you this. It's just like any personality. How do you pound it into their head? Is it like an inquisition? Do you put them on a rack and say you got to go? I mean, who's going to make them take training? Who's going to set these guys down and say, I don't care if you've had the worst loss in your life, just like Phil Jackson had to talk when the Lakers got beat, you got to talk. So I'm just asking, who's going to make them do it? Because tell me it would make my job easier.
Well, I just think from the racetracks, you know, the racetracks put the trainers up in stabling, they produce the purses, and they effectively run how the racing is run. The racetracks could easily organize something where, you know, it doesn't have to be a big, long, week-long media session. It's just, you know, small tips, something. And, you know, the rewarded with stipends for simply, you know, dealing with the TV crew.
Okay.
And then linked to that, perhaps in order to get racetracks to comply with that, it can be included into the NTRA racetrack accreditation program that they've all had to sign at the moment, that in order to be accredited, they also then have to supply media training to the jockeys and trainers.
I really hope you can pull that off. No, seriously, that's a great idea.